you.
Yep. Okay, absolutely. So let me just, this will be recorded. So let me just make sure this is recording. Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Carrie Hansen and I serve as the admissions and outreach coordinator for Eastern Iowa Community College, and I'm located at the Muscatine campus in Muscatine. So thank you for coming. Thank you for watching this at a later date. We thank our company contacts for being here. We do want to let you know that this will be on our YouTube channel, and we will try to send it out to all of our school counselors so all of our students can have access to this. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mandy for a few comments.
Wonderful. Thanks, Carrie. So yes, formally welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mandy Parcher and I'm the chairperson of the Advanced Manufacturing Sector Board. The Sector Board is a collaboration of manufacturers and industry supporters in the Quad Cities region who gather to help students like you to have a better understanding of the career pathways in manufacturing. In past years, we've hosted a field trip experience for hundreds of students in our region with the intent of providing a hands-on demonstration of the manufacturing industry to increase awareness and excitement about careers available in the industry. However, like most events this year, as a result of COVID-19, and to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone involved, we are unable to meet with you in person and provide the same hands-on experience. However, we hope that you will find value connecting with many local employers through today's panel discussion. Each employer offers a different perspective on the industry while showcasing different technologies and career pathways. Following today's event, I would challenge you to ask yourself, how did this event change my perspective of the industry? And could I see myself working in manufacturing in the future? If you have questions after the event, feel free to contact me directly. My email is parcertm@hnicorp.com. We'll also share this in the chat box for anyone to reference there. Again, thank you for attending. We hope to connect with you in the near future for job shadows, tours, and other on-the-job learning experiences. With that, I'm going to share my screen because the governor of Iowa has created a statement and a video for us to share with everyone on the call today.
Greetings from our beautiful state capital. I want to thank the team at the Eastern Iowa Western Illinois Advanced Manufacturing Sector Board for revealing the cutting-edge career pathways advanced manufacturing has to offer. They've truly delivered a glimpse into the technology-driven jobs of the future through their video series. A big thanks to the companies who made it possible for students to see themselves in a manufacturing career. As governor, I can tell you manufacturing is definitely for anyone looking for a great career here in our state. Advanced manufacturing is driving Iowa's economy to the tune of $30 billion annually, and it employs 14% of our workforce while contributing over 17% to our gross domestic product. That's right, America's largest producer of corn, pigs, and eggs reaps twice as much from manufacturing than farming, but much of that manufacturing fuels our world-class agriculture industry. In 2018, Iowa exported $18 billion worth of manufactured and value-added goods. And when we look to the future, it's estimated that manufacturers expect to fill 4.6 million jobs between now and 2028. So the in-demand jobs of tomorrow start today. And I'm extremely proud of the partnerships we've built throughout our state. We've seen work-based learning in action, and the results are undeniable for students, employers, and educators. The nation looks to Iowa as a leader in registered apprenticeship programs, with over 130 new programs just this year. It's momentum that is building despite the pandemic. There is no better way for students to test drive careers than by connecting them with the industry who needs them most, and the educators who can build a bridge from the classroom to the the shop floor. Together, I know we can create a future-ready workforce, and I can't think of a better way to learn more about the opportunities than with a group of folks leading the panel discussion today. To the students and educators, thank you for logging in and stepping up to ask questions, challenge perceptions, and explore opportunities with leaders in the industry. There are opportunities around every turn, so thank you for discovering them with us today.
Again, special thanks to Governor Reynolds and all who are on this call and helping with this initiative. With that, I'll turn it back over to Carrie, our moderator, to start the panel discussion.
Great, thank you, Mandy. So I just want to remind everyone that this is being recorded. We will put it on our YouTube channel. I see that we have some other students who have joined us. So I want to let you know that there will be some polls to answer while we do this. And also, if any students or anyone has any questions, please use the chat box. I will monitor those. We really want to encourage students to ask a lot of questions. We have some questions we're going to ask, but your questions take precedent. We want to hear from you, and our employees are here today, our employers are here today to answer your questions. So please feel free to speak up and ask any questions you might have. Okay, so first I'm going to do a quick poll, 2 polls. We'll do the first one. So the first one is just asking, what high school do you attend? This is just so we kind of know who's here. If there is not, your high school is not in here, please just choose other. And if you can, in the chat box, just put what high school you're from if it's not listed here. So I'm gonna let this go a few more seconds here. This just really helps us in the future see where everyone's from. Great, wonderful. Okay. Go ahead and end that poll. And I'm going to ask one more question here. And this is just general, this is just your gender. Wait a few more seconds here, just make sure everyone has time. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start that discussion. So I'm going to ask the panelists to introduce themselves, what company they're with, and include their education pathway as well, so students know. Connor, we'll go ahead and start with you.
All right. Well, I'm Connor Flaherty. I'm from I'm RILCO. RILCO is a lubricants, chemical, and services supplier. So we keep a lot of the manufacturing in the Midwest running. From the services side, I run our services division. So we actually go out and use reliability tools to predict failures early on. So instead of turning wrenches like people traditionally think about mechanics, we're using iPads and really advanced high-tech equipment. So from an education standpoint, I've got a college degree from the University of Northern Iowa. I really enjoyed that education, but I don't need it for the job I do today. And a lot of the guys that work with and for me don't need that kind of education. There's a whole different type of training with certifications and additional education after they enter the workforce that our team needs to do our job. So four-year institutions are great, but there's also other options if that's not right for you to get into the manufacturing field.
Thanks, Connor. All right, James, we'll go with you next.
Hi, everyone. I'm James Hotchkiss. I work at John Deere, specifically Davenport Works, where we make construction forestry equipment. My job is to go out and find students and educate them on manufacturing and try and get them interested in the field. And my education is high school graduate. I never went on past that.
Thank you so much. Steve, you're up.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name's Steve Lovejoy. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Sears Manufacturing in Davenport. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of us, but we're eventually a very large supplier to companies like John Deere, Caterpillar, CNH. We provide seat and tractor seat and suspension systems for agricultural construction equipment, as well as on-highway truck, like you see a Mack truck going down the road. More than likely it has a Sears seat in it. I'm kind of unique. I actually went to work at Sears out of high school, not knowing what I was going to do with my life. And probably about 9 years in, I actually went into supervision. And then I went back to night school and got a degree at Scott Community, a math degree from Scott, and then on to Ambrose to get an industrial engineering degree. So I'm kind of one of those guys that, didn't know what I was going to do out of high school, went to work in a factory, and now I actually run the company. So just kind of a great success story. Just shows you a lot of our employees that work for us, that work for me, underneath me, have kind of come up through the ranks. They maybe came in out of high school with little post education and worked their way through the organization and made pretty good living. So that's kind of my story, and kind of proud of it. And I think it opens, it opens a lot of doors for people that don't know what they want to do after high school.
Thanks so much, Steve. What a great story. For all three of our panelists, Connor, you can start. I'm going to ask you, what do you like most about your job?
Yeah, so I cheated. I used a green screen so you can see some of the things for my job over here. This is my office. I work in a lot of different factories. I get to climb on top of equipment and see views like this. No day is ever the same, and I get to spend a lot of time solving problems for our customers. So that's an awful lot to love about a job.
That's great. James.
What I like about my job, well, my current role where I get to go out and hang out with students, I like my job because it's a field trip every day. Before that, when I was a welder, when I was a machine operator, what I like about my job is the dependability. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world, COVID, no COVID. I have a job to go to, I have a job to complete and get paid for. And the consistency. Every day when I show up, I know what's expected out of me. I know what I need to do. And then the inconsistency, even though it's the same part every day, it doesn't always line up right. So you always have to be thinking about how to make the product and how to make it better.
That's great. Thank you, Steve.
To me, I'm kind of a problem solver. I have a really good group of people that work around me, and my job is just to kind of break down barriers to make sure that we meet the needs of our customers every day. We manage around, we got close to 500 employees, and there's a lot of moving pieces to our organization. So just kind of a guy that kind of holds it all together and makes sure that all the managers are moving in the right direction.
Steve, we'll continue with you. Why did you choose to work in manufacturing?
Is that to me? I'm sorry.
Yes, Steve, to you.
Yeah, I coming out of high school, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life, and I had an opportunity to go to work there and make a pretty good living again. And after I was in the factory for 9 years and kind of knew probably early on in my career that it wasn't something I could do all my life. So I found a different path forward, and again went back to school at night. Actually, my company paid for my education, so once I got on there and I kind of started promoting through the organization, I went through 4-year degree and technical degree, and they had no debt at the end. So again, it wasn't a choice. I think it was kind of there for me when I went, and I made the best of it, found a way forward.
Great. James, why did you choose to go into manufacturing and stay in it?
So I got into manufacturing, kind of like Steve. I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I stumbled into a small shop and just built up all the way from there. And I stayed because I found a couple of good shops. One time before John Deere, I worked for Steve at Sears Manufacturing. And I found that if you put a good day's work in and you tried hard, companies will pay you and you can make a good life out of it and enjoy your life. So I just kind of stuck there. I've seen it provide for me and my family and for all my friends. So once I realized it was good, that's where I stayed.
Great. Connor, how about you?
Yeah, kind of similar story. Manufacturing found me almost more than I found it. I'm a gearhead, a tinkerer, a maker by passion and by hobby, and I got exposed early on to different career paths, and just really found it hard to see myself sitting at a desk shuffling papers. I wanted to work with my hands, but I also wanted to use my brain too. So that's how I ended up where I'm at, where it's kind of an engineering and technical profession that I get to use a mix of those, but I'm not just sitting in front of a computer every day. So yeah.
Wonderful. Great answers. Steve, I'm going to hop back over to you. I have a question. What is manufacturing 4.0 and how is it impacting your business?
We're kind of early in the process of manufacturing 4.0, but it really is utilizing technology to tie all your business processes together. And we are pretty well integrated. If you think about when we receive something in the door, it electronically transfers it through every process. We're pretty far along, but we don't. We're kind of moving towards Industry 4.0 as far as creating dashboards. Where, example, I get up in the morning and I pick up my phone, I hit a button, and it'll tell me how the factory is running. Right now, a lot of the information is all over the place and late. We don't know until like next week how we perform this week. Industry 4.0 would actually be to where, again, almost like an automated factory, where I can anytime know how the factory is operating and where my issues are. So we're a little early in the game, but we are kind of moving that way. We have a team of people working to try to pull data together. The information's all there. It's a matter of how do you pull it in and utilize all that data electronically and make decisions based on real-time information.
Wonderful. Connor, can you answer the same question? What is manufacturing 4.0 and how is it impacting your business?
Yeah, and I think I probably have a little broader answer because I deal with so many different manufacturing facilities. But Industry 4.0 is really the transition of how do we make that digital transition to being a smart industrial manufacturer or companies and use data and technology to help us drive our business decisions and our manufacturing processes. And I get to see it in a lot of different steps. One of the biggest challenges we face, I think, right now with Industry 4.0 and this digital transformation is there's a lot of companies that want to run out and say, let's do things digitally and let's put a whole bunch of sensors and let's throw it out on the cloud and that's going to fix things. And there needs to be a really good balanced approach with a mix of having the right people on the team. And that's where there's so much opportunity for young people coming into this industry and this market is how do we set good baselines and good best practices and then take those and implement them using digital technologies. It sounds like Steve's got a really good plan and an action item and solution for how he uses this to drive his business. But there's a lot of businesses that are just taking that data and it goes somewhere and nobody knows what it does or who's using it to make decisions. Or even worse, they're collecting bad information because they didn't have someone on the team that understood the technology. So it's an awesome opportunity for young people to get engaged and combine digital technology skills with traditional manufacturing needs and requirements.
Great. Thank you so much, James.
So for us, it's probably a little bit of both of what Connor and Steve said. It's taking the technology, it's taking the information and utilizing it. For us, we're using it a lot for mistake proofing. The cameras can scan the part, identify if it's the right part, are we using it at the right time, are we torquing the parts correctly? And if we're not, immediately sending it back to the proper person and let them know that we are not doing something or we are doing something correct.
James, could you talk about what jobs in manufacturing are in demand right now and what jobs you'll see in demand in the future?
So right now, our jobs, especially at Deere, is we need welders. We need welders real bad. And that's going to go on forever. I know a lot of companies like to replace with robots, but you still have to have an operator stand there with the robot that needs to know how the weld should be and the different specs for the weld. And along with welding, now and in the future, we need CNC machine operators. We need the people that are able to think through the process and to program the machines so we can get the holes put in the right spot or the parts milled correctly. Those are probably the two hottest jobs we see at John Deere right now. And then after that, it's all your skilled trades, your electricians, your plumbers, your machine repairmen. Those are industries that are retiring out with nobody to replace them.
Connor, what do you see for jobs that are in demand and will be in the future?
From a manufacturing standpoint, kind of to segue off of what James said is a lot of the basics. You're seeing a lot of people retire out of skills that you can go and get into a journeyman or internship program. And, James and Steve are going to teach you how to do those jobs in their facilities. Just the basics to do all of these transformations we're making. So, electricians, plumbers, there's demand for engineers, there's demand for accountants. Really, there's very few places anywhere in manufacturing where I don't see job opportunities for people that train and become experts in their craft. And that doesn't mean you have to go to a specific type of education, but you have to invest in your education and your professional growth. So, there's a lot of places where a couple of years ago, they might not have looked at you if you didn't have an engineering degree. Now, if you show them that you've done a lot of things on a 3D printer and you understand how to be a self-starter and that you're ambitious and they know that you're going to show up to work and work hard for them, there's a lot of opportunity for young people today.
Steve, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I would say I've been on the manufacturing sector board probably close to 10 years, I suppose. And when I first started, we talked about engineers and technology people with STEM backgrounds. And now the issue is, as Connor and Jim mentioned, is skilled trades, because all the skilled trades guys, all the mechanics, all the electricians are all retiring. Same thing with HVAC, heat and vent people. There's huge opportunities. We actually partner with Scott Community College or Eastern Iowa Community College, and they have an apprenticeship program, and we actually promote from within, and we send some of our employees to school at Long Tech Center for 4 years, and they work to get their journeyman status because we just can't hire them. There's just nobody in the market to be hired. And these are pretty good. These are really good paying jobs. And our other opportunity, typically where we'll hire, is in assembly. We have, out of our 330 shop members, 200 of them are in assembly. So we have a big demand for people that understand the difference between a screwdriver and a pair of pliers, that can put things together and follow directions and like those guys said, be there every day and show up. Because John Deere needs seats every day, and for us to ship them seats every day, we have to have employees every day. So, but the sky's the limit. And I tell you, once you get your foot in the door, there's always a lot of other opportunities that open up within the company once you get in, and the people that tend to come in and do a good job and stand out are the ones that tend to find their way through the organization. So lots of opportunities out there.
Steve, speaking of salaries, since I know the students always want to know, what are the salaries for these starting wages, starting salaries for these jobs?
There's at Sears, where we have an incentive program based on the output of your product, but an average employee is going to make our average wage, if you look across the organization, is around $21 an hour. Jim talked about apprenticeships or journeyman type people or apprentices. They're, at Sears, they're more probably in the $30 an hour range. And I know I hear guys, electricians and things in the marketplace, people are making $40 to $50 an hour in a lot of these skilled trades. So the sky's the limit. It's not just though the cost, that it's also the insurance benefits and some of the other things, the retirement programs and stuff that come with them. So it's not just about the dollars, it's also about the other benefits that come along with working in a factory that tend to provide very, very solid benefits to the employees.
Typically the insurance in these places are very good as well. I know my husband worked for John Deere for a long time. The insurance for our family was incredible. So those are definitely some benefits that I don't think students think about, but as you get older, even if you don't have a family, the insurance is very good. So James, could you talk about what are some of the skills that you need to be successful in the manufacturing industry?
The skills, they're pretty basic skills. And I don't even know if I call them skills. You got to know how to show up. You know how to show up on time. That's huge. If you can't do that, then you're not going to make much money in it and you're not going to last very long. Other skills are just simple communications. You need to know how to speak respectively to each other and to the other workforce. It'd be great if you knew how to turn a wrench, but most times we don't even care about that. We're just really looking at can you show you're a self-starter? So can you apply on your own? Can you follow up on an application on your own? And then can you show up for the interview without being prompted to? And with that, we'll take the rest from there. We'll show you how to turn the wrench and hopefully maybe show you how to weld someday or run a CNC machine.
Great answer. Connor, do you have anything to add to this? Skills needed for the manufacturing industry?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just leverage off of what James said. It's more about, we don't need you to come in and know how to use this specific tool. We're going to teach you the way we want you to do it. It's all about attitude. It's all about thirst for knowledge and wanting to learn. And I've gotten to see this firsthand with, working with James and Steve at some of these events, that when you've got kids that are passionate, we're going to help put you into roles and find resources for you to keep moving up. We want to keep people that have a good attitude and want to work hard and want to be better. You'll see the money and you'll see the opportunities and the growth follow. So, I mean, the biggest thing is leverage off what James said, is show up. And showing up isn't just punching the time clock. It's showing up and knowing I'm going to be the best I can be today. And I'm going to invest in myself and my company. Not necessarily with physical education that I went to this class, but I'm going to go read about this when I get home tonight because I really thought this robot was interesting and I want to learn more. Those are the kind of things that are separating people in the manufacturing workforce. And that some of their coworkers are looking around going, well, man, why did Steve get another promotion and why is he running the company now? It's because he's done that stuff for the last 30 years.
Great, that's awesome. Looks like we have a question in the chat. So Zach asks, and any of you could answer this, any of you three, what do you think would be the best way to get high school counselors involved with pushing these jobs instead of just pushing for college and students? That's a great question, Zach. Thank you.
That might be a good question for Mandy.
Yeah, and I think I can start, and then you guys can add on. I think what I've seen through my partnerships with the schools is it really just comes down to education, especially working with the counselors. There are so many careers out there, and depending on the size of the school, you are swamped. And it's a tough job to be a high school counselor. And I really do think it comes down to education. And that's one of our main purposes as the sector board, is just to increase that knowledge and awareness, not only to students, but to educators, because you're such an important influencer in students' lives. And for the most part, they listen to your message. And so when it comes down to giving them an option and giving them direction, it really comes down to information and just the different pathways. And I mean, I could share my experience too, but I know when I was in high school, I didn't have these type of opportunities to learn about so many different careers. College was the only path that was pushed from my high school. And while it worked out, it was very expensive. And there were probably some other paths that I wish I would have known about to be more educated as I determined what I wanted to do past high school. As you talk to many of those on the panel today, they didn't know what life was going to hand them after high school, and they kind of fell into manufacturing. But it really is a rewarding career. And so having that information as a counselor to be able to share with your students, I think that's the first step and what's most important.
Hey, Carrie, one thing to add to that, I think there's always been a stigma around manufacturing jobs that maybe they're dirty and they're not, they aren't great places to work and they're scary. And it's just the opposite. I mean, the changes in technology, we talk about Industry 4.0, the factories of yesterday are not the same factories of today. I talked to a guy at Caterpillar plant one day down Peoria. He was an old guy. He'd worked there like 70 years. And he said, I remember when I came in here and I couldn't see that column down there because the factory was so smoky. Or, he talked about the housekeeping practices, years back. And it's just not like that. You go into factories, they're neat and clean and organized and safe. And they, again, like Jim said, they provide excellent opportunities for your family. If you have, if you don't have any clue what you want to do, you can go to work and, you might open other doors. If it isn't for you, you can move on. But fact, I think that break down the stigma that a factory is not a good place to work is wrong. I think that they provide well for many, many families, as you heard Governor Reynolds talk about, the opportunities out there and the amount of the impact it has on our economy. It's very, very important. And these are really, really good jobs, guys, that pay well with high school educations. And again, it opens doors that maybe wouldn't be open otherwise for you.
And to add on to that, I think the way to help educate the counselors is what we're going to hopefully get back to soon is if we get some of these vaccines out. We invite the counselors to our buildings. We invite the counselors to attend our different events, our manufacturing day events. We come out and we talk to the counselors as much as we try to talk to the students also to educate them along everything that Steve just said, the cleanliness, the technology involved. So it is all about education for the counselors as well as the students.
Yeah, I think I'd add to that as a selling point is college and even just trade school training is really expensive. And if you start with an employer, for the most part, they pay for the trainings and that continued education to whatever extents relative to the job. So I think just a simple financial incentive can be really rewarding for a school to share the message as well as for students to be interested.
And I think for the students that are in our audience today, we need your help. So we need you to go home and talk to your parents tonight, that you talk to some people on a Zoom meeting that talked about their jobs and how they have really good jobs in manufacturing. I grew up in a family where, my parents were very hardworking, but, I heard every once in a while, you don't want a job in a factory. You have to go to college. You need to go to college. And I'm very grateful for that. I learned a lot. I more learned things of how to deal with other people from different backgrounds in manufacturing. So I think the key is for you guys to go home tonight and tell your parents, like, hey, I met some people that have jobs in manufacturing and they have really good jobs and they have nice cars and boats and Jeeps and houses and they have well-paying jobs, because it's hard when you're a high school or middle school kid to know
John Deere.
What's a salary really mean. And, the people that we work with, that are on this call with you, we have good jobs to where if we want to go buy a brand new Xbox or PlayStation, we can. If our kids or our family need things, we can go get them for them. So to kind of relate that to your life, those salaries are hard to wrap your head around and all those benefits now, but we can do things. We can go on vacations. We can go buy a new car if we want to, because we have really good jobs in manufacturing. And go tell your parents and your friends that, because that's a really important takeaway.
I'm sorry to tell you, some of these people make more money than we do.
Hi, Matthew. Could you mute yourself?
Problem. I was wondering, I just got on, but I was wondering real quickly, is this being recorded?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Can we get the link too so we can share it with students after this is all done?
Absolutely. What school are you from?
Makokada.
Makokada. Great. Absolutely. This link will go out to all of the schools after we're done. I just want to, for the students that are on here, to look at your community college. Of course, I work for Eastern Iowa, but no matter where you go, if your family really insists on you still going to college, Steve talked about it. The Blanc Technology Center at the Scott campus in Bettendorf has an awesome apprenticeship. Muscatine has welding, CNC machining, engineering technology. There are still degrees you can get and go into manufacturing if that's really what you want to do. But look into your local community colleges, no matter where you end up. Kathleen had a question, and then Matt, we did talk about wages and benefits as well earlier in the panel. But Kathleen said, how many of the jobs are repetitive, doing the same thing every day? Does anyone want to answer that?
Yeah, I'll take that one. It depends. I mean, if you get an assembly job, obviously they are repetitive, but there's always opportunities where UAW shop. So every time a job opens up in the factory, it gets posted. So based on seniority, you can move through the organization. So if you're on a job you don't like, or you're gonna see another opportunity where you can make more money based on your plant-wide seniority, you can bid on those jobs and move. But it is somewhat, some of it can be somewhat repetitive, but again, it all depends on what you make out of it. You can start there and you can find ways to move through the organization and move on to jobs that are probably less repetitive.
And I think that's one of those misconceptions about manufacturing that's been put out there is a repetitive factory job means you might be standing up and you're moving and getting exercise. A repetitive office job means you're sitting in one place on a computer in front of a screen for 8 hours at a time sometimes. So ask lots of questions about what repetitive really means.
And I'd also like to add to that, we say repetitive, but in the over 25 years I've been in manufacturing, even though it's quote unquote the same job, I might be building a seat at Sears, or I put batteries in for 8 years in one of our vehicles here. It's not really the same. There's always something coming up. Does this work right? Does this not work right? Let's try a new angle. Let's try a new part. So we say repetitive, but that only really means we're going to the same area every day. It's always changing. Welding's always changing. You might have to try to figure out a new angle to weld it. Repetitive doesn't mean, like Connor just said, the exact same thing every day. You're just going to the same area.
Absolutely. Kathleen pointed out the last dollar scholarships for our students in Iowa. Currently, the last dollar scholarship, depending on the field you go in, can pay for your tuition for these trades. So if you're interested in that, definitely let me know. I can send you out some information. Ashlyn says, I turned 18 in the summer. What jobs in the Muscatine area would be available to me then? So my question is, how does a student who is graduating kind of start that process of trying to get into the manufacturing field?
I think I can't help you with Muscatine, but I can help you with the Quad Cities. We have a website, searsseating.com, and all of our job openings are posted on there. We are currently hiring. The only requirements are you're 18 and you have a high school education. Like both Jim and Connor had said, we're willing to train, and not taking away from anything, but we got people that come in that yesterday were serving McDonald's and today they're building seats, right? We're willing to train as long as they have the right attitude. They come to work every day. And we are actually currently hiring. If you want to come work in the Quad Cities, you can start this summer.
To add to that,
Mandy may hire you though, because they're hiring in Muscatine too.
To add to that, I can say John Deere has opened up their hiring for the Quad City, but usually in manufacturing in general, you have to be 18 years old, and that's the entry level positions. And once you get into a shop, sky's the limit. You can go about anywhere.
Yeah, being a company representing in the Muscatine area, so I work for H&I Corporation, and we're definitely hiring kind of the entry level manufacturing. All you have to do is be 18 and willing to show up and work. Most of those jobs that don't require any skills would be the assembly or even kind of an entry level CNC machine operator. We do provide training for welding, fork truck operation, and some of those other skills that still at their base only require to be 18 and a high school diploma. So similar to Sears and the other companies, check us out online. All the jobs are available. I usually say to apply pretty close to your birth date, since you can't work until you turn 18, or when you graduate high school and would be available to work. Our hiring process usually takes probably 2 weeks from application to start date. It does require a drug screen and background check, and there's some other pre-hire details that go into the process. You would, of course, interview with a hiring manager. You get to tour the facility, all of those details. But it's a great entry point as soon as you turn 18 and graduate high school to apply online and go through the process.
I think the other thing too, so we are actually always hiring drivers. Our environmental division is almost always looking for people to do manual labor and get an entry into that world. I think the biggest thing is you need to do some soul searching and decide, is there a path that you feel passionate about or that you're at all interested about? And then actually call those companies. I mean, Mandy, James, myself, Steve, we're never going to turn down a phone call from somebody or an email or other people in our company saying, hey, this is the field I'm looking at getting into. What would you recommend I do, or what will make me more attractive to your company? because it might be, James will say, hey, go see Eastern Iowa Community College and start pursuing your welding certificate. And that'll give you a leg up against other people. But as you see, we've got, 4 people that just talked to you in the middle of a pandemic and one of the most, challenging economic climates we've had in quite some time in manufacturing. And we all still work for companies or know companies that are hiring. So there are jobs for people that want to go learn and are ambitious, like we've said.
We are almost out of time. I have 2 more poll questions I would just want to give, and then we'll have another question. So let me just launch these polls quickly.
What was that? What's the question?
So I'm going to launch a poll. We just want to get an idea of who is interested in a career in manufacturing. Hopefully, if you're here, possibly you have some sort of interest at all. Keep it open for a few more seconds. Okay, and the last poll question is, if you watch the video series that was released by the Manufacturing Board, Manufacturing is for Me. It was sent out to all of the area counselors, and we also have it on YouTube. And if you haven't watched them, definitely, hopefully we can pull up the link here. Yes, Matthew, we'll send a link as well. They're great. Mandy might be able to pop it in the chat box here. Okay, great. So one of our last questions, we've got about 2 minutes left for our panelists. What advice do you have for students transitioning into the workforce?
I have to jump off, but Mandy, would it be fair to share the information or Carrie on the 24 by 24 and 24 program at Eastern Iowa Community College, where students can actually take free kind of online classes towards manufacturing? Because I saw a question pop up about what can we do to prepare. It's really a good program. I know HNI and Sears both have helped sponsor that program, but you can actually go on. It takes some classes, some basic skills classes, and when you apply, you can actually say, hey, I've completed this or some portion of this program. And I think employers will look at that as a favorable step towards trying to get an opportunity to work in a factory.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, I'll find the link and I'll include that in the chat box also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for being here.
Yep. Hey, thanks, everybody. I'm sorry I have to jump off for another meeting, but have a great day and send in your applications.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks, Steve.
See you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. James or Connor, do you have any advice that you would give for students transitioning into the workforce?
Be passionate, be hungry. You're going to work most of your adult life. It's a lot more enjoyable when you figure out how to be passionate about it and be prideful about it. And there's a lot of great jobs in manufacturing that, at least from my seat, it's a lot easier to be that way because I get to help make and create and do things using both my hands and my brain. So it's pretty cool when you get to see the Sears manufacturing facility, or you go down to Hahn and see what they're actually making at H&I. Or you see the tractors and equipment rolling off at James's facility and know you are a part of those. It makes you feel pretty good when you go home at night and I can't say it enough. Be educated, be passionate, go pursue those opportunities, and good jobs and opportunities will come in manufacturing.
I would say just get out there and try them all. Try as many different manufacturing jobs you can at a company,
Yes.
and experiment and find the one that makes you happiest.
Well, thank you so much, Connor and James, for being here. Thank you for our students and our counselors and our teachers. Thank you, Mandy. And this has been wonderful. Thank you, students. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Mandy. Her information is in the chat box. I am Carrie Hansen at Muscatine Community College, and I will share my information as well if you have questions about Eastern Iowa Community College. But thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.